My name is Susan Pitcairn, and I wanted to talk with you today about how to reduce plastic use, which I find is really a very loving thing to do. I mean, it's a difficult topic sometimes. After all, plastic has really become a toxic love affair. And, as they told Dustin Hoffman and us, the future is plastic, and it was cheap, it was fun, it was useful, but it's really time for us to end this affair because really it's burying us. We have used more plastic in the last decade, from 2000 to 2010, than from all the 100 years preceding that, and that's like about 800 pounds a year for each of us Americans. I mean, that's actually a man in a boat in the middle of all this garbage. Every year, about 10% of our global plastic ends up in the oceans. There's huge whirlpools, which they call gyres, also. At least twice the size of Texas, but really most of it's almost become like a plastic confetti throughout all the oceans of the world. Many places it greatly outnumbers plankton, the basic food chain. 80% of this came down through our litter from watersheds and storm drains. It's not like it's just ships out there dumping it. It's our stuff, especially those who live along the coastlines or anywhere close to that watershed. This plastic that's getting out there is just filling the oceans. It's killing marine species. All sea turtle species now have plastic in or on them. The plastic bags that we just use like 50 billion bags a year ending up in the seas are like jellyfish to them. And they're also a problem for land-based animals, like livestock will often eat them. Or wild animals will eat them for the the food that's in them. China, New Delhi, San Francisco, many places are beginning to ban them, and I think we all need to do this. We can start by doing it personally. Plastics also in 44% or on them of marine bird species, 22% of cetaceans, whales, dolphins, and so on. This unfortunate baby albatross died of starvation, one of thousands, millions. He was too full of plastic debris to handle real food. You can see, if you look in there, there's little things kind of like plastic lighters and stuff. The way I see it, only love and common sense can turn this tide. Every day we find garbage, mostly plastic, in our own backyard. For instance, just last week we were walking down where we live in Sedona by a park up called on Posse Ground. Has gorgeous views of the mountains. They're building a park there now. And what did we find? But like probably a whole huge garbage sack worth of styrofoam pellets all over the place, stuck in the cactus where no one can ever get them out. These are not biodegradable. And probably what had happened was the dumpster was being emptied by a big trash truck, and because we'd had some windy days before that, and it just blew everywhere. I wish they would outlaw these things. And then just this morning, we were walking back from breakfast at a restaurant down the highway. We walked half a mile up a minor arterial road, coffee pot, and we found all this stuff in the storm ditch, mostly food waste. We were able to wash and recycle at least half of it. Now, I wish that everybody would take up this challenge and do this where you live. This would have ended up in Oak Creek and then the Verde River and then gone down, ultimately to the ocean. A little closer to home, where people live and human beings, what really happens is that eventually the elements do break down plastics to smaller pieces. The sun kind of makes it crumble and so forth. But the chemicals that are in them find their way throughout the whole food system, get into our bodies, and they especially impact children. These chemicals include fillers, pigments, stabilizers, flame retardants, plasticizers, softeners, antibacterials, heavy metals, and much, much more. Some of these chemicals disrupt hormones and cause early puberty, declining sperm count, obesity, diabetes, and reproductive cancers. And that's just what we know about. To give you another example, BPA, also known as bisphenol A, is found in hard polycarbonates, like the bottles and dishes and kids' sippy cups and tub toys, as well as in the thermal receipts, that we get at the store and the lining of all of our food cans and caps. Now that's significant. Think about that. All the canned food that you have, it's put into a can that's lined with plastic, heated to high temperatures to sterilize it, and this plastic is going where? Into your food. BPA increases birth defects, diabetes, and certain cancers. And I've read that some BPA-free alternatives are actually worse, promoting even more estrogenic, or in some cases anti-estrogenic activity that disrupts our body's balance. Now, a class of chemicals called phthalates are added to PVC, or polyvinyl chloride, to soften it. PVC is a particularly toxic form of plastic, and it's in cling wrap like you use on your food, squeeze bottles, often used for kids, vinyl binders, kids' toys, or vinyl purses, vinyl shower curtains, garden hoses, soft tubing like IVs, and also like what is used in milking cows and dairies, and in vinyl floors, windows, blinds, and siding. And phthalates are also in many fragrances and cosmetics. Now here's a kind of a kicker, is that it can be inhaled as dust or absorbed through touch. And they're linked to birth defects, reproductive disorders, asthma, autism, and various cancers. So, if you're still with me, shall we create a future with a lot less plastic? It's just a loving thing to do, and love feels good, doesn't it? All right, so let's put on our thinking caps and get creative. Now, first of all, let's remember it wasn't that long ago that we got along fine as human beings without plastic. I mean, my grandparents, for example. Yours, maybe, huh? One of the things I used, and we can still use, is glass. Glass is a wonderful neutral substance, and it's from an abundant resource, silica. Glass, as well as metal, can both be recycled indefinitely. And I don't know if you know this, but plastic, even if you recycle it, can only be done for like 1, maybe 2 more times. What I do when I use glass is I use it a lot in jars, and I buy in bulk. It's a real key to reducing use at the grocery store of the different kinds of plastic. But so what you have to do is start to shop in bulk with glass, not with plastic bags. They're ideal for this. What I do is I take a certain kind of product, like a 1-quart yogurt jar, and I collect a series of them. I get the tear weight at the local natural food store. I go for 1 jar, and then I'll write it on the lid of all of them, and then I don't have to do it one by one. I can just like take them home and put a nice marker on it with that, and then over a period of the first week or 2, when I'm building this up, I got the item name and the bin number. So now when I go shopping, it is so easy. You might find as you build your jar collection, you may prefer certain kinds of products that have particularly good, jar sizes and shapes, and preferably metal lids. You soak off the label, and something like Dissolve It or one of those orange cleaners can be helpful for getting the gummy stuff off on the labels. I scrub it well with a metal scrubber too. And sometimes like on the one on the right, I'll paint the lid with gold acrylic artist paint just to make them look nice. It's fun. It's fun to be creative and have a little joy in your doing this process. So here's one of our condiment areas where I use a consistent kind of jar, a mayonnaise jar. It had plastic lids, but they work fine. And so once you get set up, it's so easy to shop. You just take your jars and you fill them in the bulk bin section, and then you take them and check out. And then when you go home, they just go straight to the shelf. It's attractive, and there's no off-gassing from the plastic bags. They're well secured from insects and moisture. What we do also is we'll rotate 2 jars for the most often used bulk food. So when one is empty, we put it in the shopping basket and don't even need to bring a list for it. And then we just pull out a backup jar from down lower in our cupboard and put it up where we usually draw things from. Now for the produce, when we go shopping, We usually use reusable, washable small bags like Chico's produce stand on the left there. They're little nylon kind of bags that come in different colors, and some have mesh for different kinds of purposes. Or there's also cotton mesh bags and nylon mesh bags made by various people. And you can also reuse plastic bags, which are shown drying on the right, to a point. You have to be kind of careful about that because when you wash plastic, it does cause it to degrade a bit. And that's why you'll find sometimes if you reuse plastic bags, they get pretty smelly. Now you can recycle plastic bags at grocery stores. Here in Sedona, that's Safeway or Bash's'. Some places are better about taking a wide variety of film plastic than others. Check with your local grocer. Now, to carry all this, it's really fun. We have a nice wicker basket we picked up at a garage sale years ago. We load it with these empty jars with washable Chico produce and grocery bags, and a few of the reused plastic bags, which are stuffed into this little green bag sock on the upper right. And it's so much fun to go shopping this way. Now, you might not be able to find that kind of a woven basket, but you can commonly buy these kinds of bags. They're useful also. You notice also in this bag there is one of those cheaper kind of reusable polypropylene, I think whatever it's called, kinds of bags that you can get for like 99 cents at grocery stores. I don't really advise those because they're not washable. They don't really last that long. They're made from plastic also. So just try to build up a collection of really good, sturdy, washable, durable bags. And, you might want to use also just big, heavy canvas tote bags, backpack, cardboard box, whatever you have. Okay, now moving on a little bit, I want to talk about how we store food in the refrigerator to avoid the use of plastic, both for our health and just to minimize plastic. Plastic does leach into liquids, particularly, and particularly into fatty things like milk, say, or dairy products. So we find that using glass or Pyrex or stainless steel are great ways to store food, and it's much safer. Left or right in this picture, you see that squarish kind of container. It's an Anchor Stackable glass jar. They work really well. You can put 2 or 3 of them high. And they're great for like a salad bar kind of items. You can serve them out on a buffet style, with maybe some onions in one and some beans in another and that kind of thing. The one in the middle with the gold lid is actually just a reused product jar that we took the label off of. It has a nice metal lid. And then the ones with the little white lids are working jars, which we bought a long time ago. And they've kept in good shape for a long time, and you can use them also for drinking glasses. They all have the advantage that you can really clearly see what's in them as well. And it's very rare that any one of these breaks. You just take a little care. Now, we also will use, like in the door of the refrigerator, some narrow jam jars for bulk things like Parmesan, hemp, flax, supplement powders. And, we, again, try to look for some that are attractive, have a consistent lid color. I like these green ones. And they're compact, attractive, and clean. We use a lot of jars in the freezer bin as well. You ever notice, again, how frozen plastic bags get quite smelly? That's because they're breaking down. So we'll freeze extra nuts, sauces, pre-cooked beans, which we've cooked, to avoid the BPA, and pestos and that kinds of thing. Now we do bother to cook our own beans these days for the most part because of that lining of BPA. So we'll make extra, and it doesn't take that much time, and then we just freeze the extras in the jars, and then if you just plan ahead a little bit, then you just thaw it, a day ahead for when you want to use the beans, and it works fine and saves money too. Now here's a real find, something I just love. Are these stainless steel lunch boxes. They're great for leftovers. They fit a sandwich perfectly for lunch, by the way. They're better than any Tupperware. They don't break. And what's cool is you can also freeze food in them, and you can bake in them. We take ours also, and we mark it with the tare weight, which was minus 0.46. And then we can take it to our local natural food store and pick up things in the salad bar in it, and we don't have to get one of their containers, which is plastic or this presumably biodegradable cardboard, which I don't think is completely. These kind of containers are also great to keep one in the car or in your purse when you're going out to a restaurant and you want to take some food home. There's another way in which they are made. Sometimes they stack on 2 levels like this, and they're nice, but I kind of prefer the one that was in the last slide there. It's just a little bit more, all in all, useful. You can get these online if you just look at steel bento boxes. Okay. Now, as far as water and juice goes, I mean, just always, it's a good idea to store it or to carry it in either glass or stainless steel. The bottled water, what I call plastic water, is found to be full of thousands of contaminants. And it's a huge litter problem. There's just literally billions. I think it's something like 100 billion plastic bottles a year go into the oceans. If you watch the film Tapped, you'll never want to use plastic bottled water again. And it also it costs more than gasoline, per gallon. And there's so much energy used in just transporting the plastic water. So what I suggest, instead, is that you get yourself a nice water filter. This is just $125 or something like that. Multi-pure, which you can attach to your faucet. And there's under sink ones, of course, too. And even actually tap water has often been found to be better than the bottled water as far as contaminants go. And in taste tests, I mean, that's surprising, isn't it? But it's the case. Now, if you get water filtered or you get it maybe from a spring water source or whatever, you can also find some really beautiful glass water dispensers. These I got at Bath & Beyond. They're perfect also for parties, like for iced tea and so forth. And you can, of course, just save money by using a 1-gallon apple juice jug over again. The glass ones, of course. Now, it goes almost without saying at this point to always bring your own bottle. And I don't mean the cheapy aluminum kind of steel bottles, because those are aluminum. That's not so good for us. But food-grade stainless steel ones without BPA liners, like these here. A nice brand also is Earthlust. That little one on the right, the white one, is a really nice compact size. I think it's the 11-ounce size. You can put it in your purse. It's really great. And Clean Canteen is a good brand. This New Frontiers one is our local natural food store. It's really great because it's sort of double insulated. They come in all kinds of sizes. But if you don't like the taste, some people think that they can taste metal and those things. I don't notice it, but you can always just reuse a glass juice jar or something like that. Even this one on the right with the black lid was used previously for a gourmet vinegar. So I washed it out good, and it makes a wonderful drinking bottle. And of course, there's coffee mugs to deal with. Can you believe, Americans alone, we toss about 300 million a day of disposable coffee cups. And some of them, like styrofoam, are really bad stuff. They leach, things into the coffee. Even the ones like from Starbucks or whatever, the paper ones, they look kind of good, but they aren't recyclable because of the plastic film that's on the edge of them. That's not wax, that's plastic. So what you can do about that is to bring your own mug, just a regular mug, or if you want the convenience of something that will fit down into the little coffee cup hole, in the console of your car, well, then there's these ceramic and metal travel mugs with rubber lids. Look around online. I'm sure you can find that. We got them at some place in California. So I was going to say, since we toss about 300 million a day into the oceans, that's about 1 trillion a year if you multiply it out, just from Americans that go into the ocean. This is bad. We need to clean up our act. Parties are one of the things that really bugs me. It just seems like art receptions and things that there is so much use of plastic cups at these things. And what do you think that our parents and grandparents did, back before 19 60 or whenever they 70, whenever these things started to kind of creep into parties. Well, they used glass, don't you think? Well, but anyway, I've got a good, better, best kind of approach here. So the good thing, if you have to use something that's disposable, well then get number one, clear plastic cups, not styrofoam. You can wash them and reuse them, rinse them, and then if you put them all in a bag together and take them to the recycle center, they appreciate that because they don't then have to sort it all out. It's easier for them, particularly at a hand done sorting center like we have here in Sedona, which is a wonderful kind of recycle center. Now, better than that, if breakage is concerned and you need to have something stackable that you can use to reuse some harder plastics, stacking glasses, that you can just clean it all in the dishwasher. They're good for years. I've had these for a long time. There are some disadvantages there, which is that they may not be recyclable at the end of their lifetime. The best thing really is just to get yourself a collection of small glasses or juice glasses, which you can wash and reuse for a lifetime. And you might look around and see if you find some that are kind of stackable with each other, and just kind of be careful if you have to carry them to a party location, and collect them in maybe a little bucket or something, take them home, put them in the dishwasher. It's the most eco-friendly thing, and it's the most economical. What about party plates? I would say if you must, use disposable plates. If you have to use them, then get something like these biodegradable bamboo or paper plates. And I got these actually at Walgreens. And you can compost them if it's possible. If you do have any plastic plates in your collection, just go ahead and reuse them as long as you can and recycle them. Many of them are number one. But again, avoid all styrofoam. That's not recyclable and it is toxic. Better yet, best ideal is to get some nice, durable, elegant glass plates. You can use these for a lifetime. I don't think any of these is ever broken. They're durable. They're thin, so you can put a lot of them in a little space. We have about 24 here of full-size dinner plates and 24 salad plates that we got some years ago at some place like Target. And I see that you can get them now for about 12 of them for $30 online, a little over $2 a plate. Good deal. Metal flatware is also always the best choice over plastic. And since it happens so often that you're eating out, and you just don't have anything with you. Well, what I've been doing as a habit for some years is to carry along metal flatware and just roll it up into a napkin and tuck it in my purse. Now, if you think that using those so-called biodegradable ones that you see sometimes now is a solution, it's not, because they require special high-temperature composting facilities and more than likely aren't going to go there. And even if they did, it's always better to reuse things and have durable products than to just have a single use for something. All right, now here's another bright idea, is making your own. So a lot of items like mayonnaise come commonly in plastic, or hummus, right? Salsa, pesto. If you can get into the habit, maybe on the weekends or the evenings or sometime when your energy is up and you feel like making something, if you make some of your own condiments and just put them in those jars you've been saving, it's really easy. Like mayonnaise particularly is quite simple. I've written the formula on the top of it. It's just 2 eggs, a cup of oil, a tablespoon of mustard, a clove of garlic, half teaspoon of salt, and a teaspoon of lemon. You just put it all in a blender except for the oil. Pour the oil slowly in while the blender's on, and 30 seconds later you got your mayonnaise. And besides that, you can make sure that you use nice organic olive oil and eggs and so forth, free-range eggs, to go into it. Now, admittedly, there's a lot of food products it's really tough to find an answer to. Like milk either comes in plastic jugs, which are recyclable, or it comes in these kinds of what we think of as wax cartons. Now, again, it's not wax. It used to be, but now it's plastic. and they're very difficult to recycle, those containers. There are some cities that will do so, and Phoenix supposedly does that, so we save ours up, and we every now and then take them down to the recycling station in North Phoenix for them to try to deal with. But where we can, we just try to buy things in glass, like particularly dairy products. And even the cottage cheese, for example, I will usually repackage it once I get it home and put it in a glass jar. Then other things that are tough are bread. Depending where you live, sometimes you can get bread in paper or whatever, and you might be able to get cheese off of a wheel. And this is how people used to do it. They used to have a lot of non-plastic ways of dealing with things. So there are some frozen food bags, too, on the right that say that they're biodegradable. Like this is made by Stahlbusch. And I'm, again, not quite so sure, on some of these things. They're composite-looking products, and they may require special facilities. But we can all only do the best we can and just try to cut down on our use of all these things. I try to think of it like, what if I had to bury all this stuff in the backyard? Okay, moving on to the bath. It's another plastics challenge. You just look at how much plastic is over there in the supplements and in the bathroom, cosmetics areas of your grocery store. But it's all very doable. First off, it goes almost without saying to buy paper-wrapped bar soap. You don't need the liquid soap. If you really want it, you can make your own by collecting soap scraps, like on the right, and then boil it in some water, let it sit 8 hours in the pot, and blend it well. And of course, you can use some liquid Castile soap like Dr. Bronner's. It does come in plastic, even the major dispensers, but you could put it in a little glass dispenser. Now, taking all this further, here's our bathroom counter. On the upper left are some cotton hankies in a little green glass. You don't have to get the plastic wrapped tissue, and they work really well. There's a baking soda deodorant in that heart-shaped ceramic box. It's got a little lid, and it works wonderfully. We'll talk about that in a minute. And almond body oil in the little brown pump. I just get the almond oil in a glass jar at the grocery store, and that works really fine for body oil. And then we have a homemade tooth powder in the green ceramic jar. Okay, let's start with that baking soda deodorant. It works so much better than anything else, and I apologize to Tom's of Maine and all the other great natural deodorant makers that put their things in plastic. But if you just take a little baking soda, add a little bit of tea tree oil if you like. It's not necessary, but it's an antiseptic. And mix them together, put them in a lidded container, apply it with a puff, and you're good for days, literally. Now, there are some face creams and ointments that are not packaged in plastic, but come in some safer glass and metal jars from some conscious manufacturers. And I think it's great to patronize these people when they do it, and maybe even write them a letter and let them know that you appreciate it. Personally, I have gotten rid of pretty much all the cosmetics and creams and things I've had that were packaged in plastic because I know that they're picking up all kinds of chemicals from those containers, and I don't really want to put that on my skin anymore. Some studies have been done at times where people have stopped using all these kinds of products, and their bodies become, they do a before and after, their bodies become much more free of chemicals after just a few weeks. Now, what about shampoo? Just think about how many plastic bottles of shampoo you've used in your lifetime, and where is all that stuff sitting now? Did it get recycled? Is it sitting in some dump, and the garbage pits around the world are just filling up. We're running out of space for that. How about using a shampoo bar? It works great. It's just fine. I had to buy mine online, the J.R. Liggett's there, and the other one I found somewhere or another when we were traveling. But you could ask stores to carry them also if you can't find them locally. But if you have to, just buy them online. They're inexpensive. They lather up really well. You can just rub it on your hair and it works fine. And what about toilet paper? Now, why can't we get reasonably priced toilet paper without wrap on it? Well, it turns out you can. You can just order cartons of 48 online. This is a good brand, EcoSoft. I think they're really intended for janitorial purposes, but if you get a big carton and you get a good price and it's all ready to go, no plastic. Of course, the bottom line is that most people in the world don't even use toilet paper. They use water, like a bidet spray or a bottle, and a cloth to dry off. And we do some of this ourselves. Personal note, and it does feel cleaner. So you might want to give that a try. That bidet spray up on the upper left we bought online. Okay, what about non-plastic, non-toxic cleaning? You don't really need all these mini spray cleaners. You can just mix 1 part of vinegar, which you can buy in a glass jar, with 4 parts of water. Windows, it works great to use a cup of vinegar, a cup of ammonia, and 2 cups of water. Or just the vinegar and water works pretty good too, really. And instead of wiping down those windows and such with tree-eating paper towels, try using reusable scoy cloths, rags. A nice thin dish drying rag works great. Or compressed natural cellulose sponges, like on the upper right there. Those are nice because they're very compact. Now laundry, it's easy to find a non-plastic solution for that. We get a detergent, a good biodegradable one like Ecover Zero, and it comes in a box that has no plastic bag inside. Now some of those kinds of ones you see in a natural food store will have plastic bags inside of them, but this one's great. It works fine. And then you can also use boxed washing soda or borax for a cleaning booster. Okay, in conclusion, I have to say I can see even without my glasses, that a lot of plastic things make good sense. So let's save the plastic resources, the petrochemicals and so forth, for the plastics that really make sense, okay? And try to find ones that are more biodegradable. I would support that science really looks into looking for organisms, first of all, that can break down plastic and try to develop some. That's a good use for genetic modification. And also that we just try to find new ways of making plastic itself so it can break down. And so as for the rest of all the useless plastic stuffaroo that's in our world, here's some things that I suggest. First, make a commitment. Decide to cut down your own plastic use. Cut it way back. MyPlasticFreeLife.com, it gives you some good ideas. There's also a great book called Plasticfree by Beth Terry, which I read, and that's what got me going on a lot of this. Second, please share what you learn with your friends and family. Tell businesses you want them to change. Thank those and patronize those who do. When you see things going in the wrong direction, let them know. They want to hear from you. Fourth, I would suggest that we really support plastic control legislation. You might look for organizations to give them your money, put in some time, sign petitions, whatever comes along. And then finally, pick up and recycle all the plastic you can, whether it's your own or something you find on the road. It really makes a difference. And it sets a good example. For more information, here's this book, Plasticfree by Beth Terry. She's a woman who lives in Oakland. She's just a regular consumer using lots of plastic. And she suddenly and made a deep change in her life. She decided to cut out all purchase of plastic, and she did it to almost nothing. Over like 5 years, she had just like a small armful of things, what most people would collect in probably a couple of days. What moved her was seeing the images of the dead albatross chicks, like I showed you earlier. This book's also available on Kindle, so you don't have to slaughter a few trees to buy it. There's some really good movies out, too, that inspired us and informed us a lot. Some of them are Plastic Planet here, which is a personal journey around the globe with a grandson of an early German plastic inventor. And it shows how plastics have become a threat to the environment and for our health. Another good movie is Tapped, which examines the role of the bottled water industry and its effects on our health, climate change, pollution, and our reliance on oil. Bag It, where an average guy makes a resolution to stop using plastic bags at the grocery store, and little does he know it's going to change his whole life to do that. Finally, I just wanted to thank you for your love and caring and your patience to listen to this whole presentation. And I know that person by person and heart by heart, we can restore our sacred and beautiful home. This is an amazing planet. I think we're going to make it.